Part 67. I love his enthusiastic repayment, but I hate his domineering. Xuan Huaifeng opened his eyes, and when he touched the side, the bed was empty. He also expected that Bai Xuelan woke up first. He fell asleep without having dinner yesterday. His stomach was grumbling. He got up, changed his clothes, rinsed, went out and called a servant to say hello to the kitchen and quickly get some light breakfast to eat. After breakfast, Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly ate a bowl of porridge mixed with pickles and put down the bowl, which was a bit strange. After waking up for a while, Bai Xuelan had come to pester him a long time ago. But today it was extraordinarily quiet. After dinner, I could not help but find someone to ask. The man said, the chief went back to the office early in the morning. Xuan Huaifeng was surprised. Why is this man so diligent now? However, Bai Xuelan was industrious in official duties, which was better than eating, drinking, and having fun, so Xuan Huaifeng didn't ask any more questions. And called Song Ren over and said that he was ready to go out in the car. Song Ren asked, going out? You went out yesterday, where are we going today? Xuan Huaifeng said, going to the customs office. So many days, I should do something. I can't rest all the time. When Song Ren heard this, he waved his hands and smiled, Adjutant Xuan. This is not something I can call the shots. The chief said that your injury is not healed, so you can't go to the office. If you really want to go, please wait for the chief to come back and ask him in person. He agrees. Otherwise, I don't dare to do it. Xuan Huaifeng laughed angrily. I have lost my personal freedom or what? I don't even have the right to do things I want? You know that because of your size, I'm afraid of you. It doesn't matter. You accompany me to the customs office. The chief Hung Ji is also there. When I meet him, I want him to nod in front of him. Song Ren said, the chief is not at the customs office today. Xuan Huaifeng was startled and asked, where did he go? Song Ren said, I don't know about this. I was reporting the matter to the chief in the morning. Someone called, the chief answered, and hurriedly went out. I even took him to the gate and heard him talk to the driver. The place is not the customs office. It seems to be the inspection of the large ships at the dock. Someone is not convinced. And there is a commotion. He is going to see what the situation is. Xuan Huaifeng was a little worried, and said, since this is the case, I should go and have a look. If there is something you can help, it's good to help a little. Song Ren chuckled, Adjutant Xuan, it's not me, you just like to worry about it. Then there are some big things that need to be done. Wait here, maybe the commander will be back in a while. Although he always had a smile on his face, he was actually a person who couldn't be beaten. When he said that Xuan Huaifeng would not be allowed to go out, he would never let Xuan Huaifeng go out one step over the threshold of the mansion. Xuan Huaifeng couldn't help it, thinking that what Song Ren said made sense. Even if there was something wrong on the pier, once Bai Xuelan arrived, the aura could overwhelm the matter. And he would only ask when Bai Xuelan came back. Then, he went to the study. When I got to the study, I saw that the official document on its last night was gone. And I don't know if Bai Xuelan took it away or Adjutant Sun packed it up. There is no official business to do. Xuan Huaifeng wandered around, and suddenly remembered the book, Gone with the Wind. I remember Bai Xuelan here. In addition to a translated Chinese version, there is another English version brought from the United States. I have been studying abroad for a long time. I've learned French for a while, but now that I'm idle, why not read the English version as well? After reviewing the English, I don't lose what I've learned in the past. And I can appreciate the beauty of the novel again. Unexpectedly, after looking through Bai Xuelan's bookcase for a while, I couldn't find the original English version. Xuan Huaifeng thought, It is estimated that Bai Xuelan has too many books to store in the bookcase, so he put them in the back room with a large glass cabinet. In addition to the novel, Bai Xuelan also had a bunch of originals in foreign languages, which were probably left there too, but it would be better to call a servant to pick them up. He called out, but no one came. He left the study and stood around the corner to look around. After a while, I saw a figure in a blue cloth robe heading east, walking along the wall with drooping shoulders as if dodging. Xuan Huaifeng took a closer look. He was still an acquaintance, and he couldn't help shouting, "Fu-san?" Xuan Huaifeng was surprised, so he called out twice, but the more he shouted, the more he walked away. He was worried, so he ran after him, stopped him and asked, "Why didn't you hear me when I called you?" When I saw it, I was stunned. It turned out that Fu-san had several lines on his face, red and swollen, and he didn't know what it was. Xuan Huaifeng frowned and asked him, "Who did this?" Fu-san shook his head and flicked his eyes to Xuan Huaifeng with a little fear. Xuan Huaifeng understood and asked, "Did Bai Xuelan beat you? Why did he beat you? Is this the case, you just sent a few invitations for me?" Immediately, he became angry. Fu-san couldn't be forced by him, so he nodded with a wry smile, and begged, "Adjutant Xuan, let me go. I still have to go to work." Xuan Huaifeng said, "You don't have to be afraid. It's because I'm hurting you. Naturally, I want to help you find justice. That man, Bai Xuelan, is too domineering. How could he beat you? I'll take you to the hospital first." Reaching out to pull, but Fu-san gave way to the corner again. Xuan Huaifeng only thought that he was afraid, and comforted him, "Don't be afraid. Even if he is angry, he can only shoot at me. So he can't implicate you." He stretched out his hand again, just to reach Fu-san's sleeve. Suddenly something fell down, banging. A crisp sound, smashed to pieces. Xuan Huaifeng was taken aback. He thought that Fu-san had an injury on his body, so he always held his abdomen with both hands, but it turned out that something was hidden in his arms. Looking up at the ground, the red shards smashed all over the ground, and the half of the bottleneck that was still rolling around on the ground. Isn't it the agate square body round neck bottle placed on the closet in Bai Xuelan's study? Xuan Huaifeng was stunned. Fu-san was also frightened. His face was pale. He threw himself down on his knees, hugged Xuan Huaifeng's legs tremblingly and begged for mercy. "Adjutant Xuan, Adjutant Xuan, you have a lot of people. Raise your hands. Raise your hands." The housekeeper happened to be nearby, and he heard the voice. He rushed over to see the mess on the ground, and when he saw the two people who were standing and kneeling, he immediately understood, and stomped his feet and scolded, "Okay. So, it's you. Thief. 2 or 3 things have been lost in the backyard recently. Don't ask. You did it all. It made me search inside and out, worrying about it. Isn't this the agate bottle in the chief's study? You are getting more and more courageous. And even dare to attack the things in the chief's study. I'll see that the chief can't kill you." Fu-san hugged Xuan Huaifeng's legs as if he was holding a life-saving straw, just crying. "Adjutant Xuan, you are gracious. You are gracious." The chief said that if he stole something in the mansion, he would not send it to the police station, but chopped off his hands and threw it at the mass grave. Xuan Huaifeng asked, "You also have a monthly salary, why are you stealing things?" Fu-san cried, "My old mother was ill, and I asked to see a doctor, saying that it can be saved, but every day I have to make soup with 2 or 3 old ginsengs. Drink for a month. Adjutant Xuan, I'm a poor errand. How can I afford a monthly salary plus a little reward? I really can't do it. Because the housekeeper has dropped something in the mansion recently, if he can't find it, he will be implicated. So, I was very anxious a few times, and I naturally hated the thief deeply. He snorted and said, Adjutant Xuan, don't be deceived by him. The salary plus reward money in the White Mansion is 2 or 3 times no worse than that of ordinary people outside, and there is only one thief's heart. Greedy words, which thief was caught? Doesn't it mean that the family has a high house and a young son? It's all a set of tricks. When I call 2 guards over, tie him up, and send him to the chief, he will be honest. Fu San begged, No. No, I didn't lie to you. My old mother is lying on the bed at home. If you don't believe me, ask someone to see it. There is a lie, and I will be struck by lightning. The housekeeper said, Bah. Forget it. A thief like you who doesn't know what to do, still gets struck by lightning every day. Xuan Huaifeng waved his hand and said, You all stop. The housekeeper was surprised. Adjutant Xuan? You won't really forgive him. Isn't it? Xuan Huaifeng said, Although he stole, he has already been beaten by the chief, so he has paid it back. Life is not easy. And one should not cut off someone's hands for a few things. Xuan Huaifeng said to Fu San, Get up, don't kneel here, it's even more noticeable. Then Fu San quickly stood up, wiping tears with the back of his hands, and muttered, Adjutant Xuan, you are a good person. You hold your hands high. You are so kind. Xuan Huaifeng sighed, Don't say it, hurry up and clean the ground to hide the traces. If you have something to do, just do it, and don't steal it again in the future. You know the temper of the chief. If he knows about it and wants to fix you, I can't stop it. You are not allowed to do this kind of thing again in the future. You really lack doctors and medicines. So come and discuss with me. Waiting for Fu San also walked away, turned his head again, and said to the housekeeper, I told the chief that I took the lost things and gave them away. The housekeeper froze, wondering, This. Xuan Huaifeng stiffened again and said, You are not allowed to tell the chief about Fu San's stealing things, do you hear me? Seeing the cold face on his face, the housekeeper didn't dare to screw with him. He had no choice but to take a deep breath, lowered his head and said, I heard it. Xuan Huaifeng warned a few more words before leaving. Unexpectedly, although the housekeeper promised verbally, he knew very well the importance of the world. Xuan Huaifeng is a kind man and gentleman, and if he offends him, there is little consequence, but Bai Xuelan is different. This smiling king of hell has a strict family, and although his grace is heavy, his power is even more frightening, and he dare not take it lightly. Usually, the couriers have to deal with 1 or 2 small things that are not serious. When Bai Xuelan returned to the mansion in the evening, the housekeeper secretly told everything about it while Xuan Huaifeng was away. Bai Xuelan listened, smiled and said, This is Fu San. I only mentioned him this morning. And it's only been a few hours before he even stole something again. You find 2 people, tie him up, find someone else first. Don't let Adjutant Xuan know when the locality is closed. The housekeeper took the order, and it was done at the time. Xuan Huaifeng was reading a foreign book when he heard that Bai Xuelan was back, put down the book and came over. Seeing Bai Xuelan, he asked, I heard that something happened at the pier. What's wrong? Is it serious? Bai Xuelan said, What a trivial matter, let me go like this. The customs have strengthened inspection recently. To be honest, how many are there? The ship doesn't carry any small things? The customs have searched very carefully. The ship owners have accumulated a lot of grievances. And they want to use the fire to make a fuss when they encounter something. He dragged his uniform coat and he washed his face with water in a copper basin. He said to Xuan Huaifeng, I beat the group of chambers of commerce today. Look, tomorrow's newspapers must be talking about bullshit, especially the Business Economic News and the Chamber of Commerce Daily. which are all subsidized by the Chamber of Commerce. It really annoyed me, so I closed down several newspaper offices to see if the dogs were barking. Xuan Huaifeng frowned. Be careful. It's a matter of public anger. Bai Xuelan laughed. Just talk about it. Now, the power of public opinion is great, so whoever is an official is not afraid. There are good reporters and some despicable ones, but I hate those puppies who open their eyes and talk nonsense. Do you have anything to eat? Xuan Huaifeng said. You're hungry? I'll call the servant to bring the meal. Ringing the bell called for dinner. Xuan Huaifeng saw that Bai Xuelan had washed his face with a few drops of water splashing around his hair, which was crystal clear. So, he took the towel hanging on the wooden shelf and wiped it for him. Bai Xuelan stood honestly, and when he finished wiping, he grabbed the hand that was about to retract, kissed the back of his hand a few times, and said with a smile, "Thank you, thank you." Xuan Huaifeng said, "You go out. It's been a day, and you're still not tired?" Bai Xuelan said, "It's just a busy day, and I need a small prize to make sense." Pulling Xuan Huaifeng over, making him put his back against his chest, and turning over Xuan Huaifeng's hand, and kissed Snow White palm twice. Bai Xuelan said, "It seems that we haven't danced together yet." Xuan Huaifeng said, "How to dance? Two big men. I will never dance on women's steps." Bai Xuelan asked, "Then I will dance the women's steps. The waltz is good. I just think the ups and downs are beautiful and light." Xuan Huaifeng imagined the scene. He couldn't help smiling, shook his head and said with a smile, "No. You are so strong. I really can't carry you." Bai Xuelan protested, "After all, you are only willing to dance with a woman who is hugging her waist to her chest." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "When did I dance with a woman who was hugging her waist and hugging her chest?" Bai Xuelan asked back, "Isn't that possible?" Grabbing Xuan Huaifeng's hand, his teeth were itchy. He rubbed his upper and lower teeth twice at the tiger's mouth. Xuan Huaifeng always felt that there was something else in his words. After thinking about it for a while, he gave him a sideways look. "You set a trap for me again. If I say yes, you will take the opportunity to bite people and play with your temper. If I say no, it is equivalent to giving up the power that I should have. If I go to any banquet in the future, and I happen to dance with a female friend, you have a reason to stop it and put me on a charge of not being counted, right?" Bai Xuelan smiled and didn't answer his question. His lips clenched together evilly, biting 2 rows of marks on Xuan Huaifeng's hand. Xuan Huaifeng was bitten and slapped his hand subconsciously. Bai Xuelan smiled and held onto it, trying to bite again. Xuan Hui said in an air of manner, "You have to be careful when you play." "Stop. No, shut up. Oops." Halfway through, Bai Xuelan turned his head and took another bite on the back of his neck. Seeing his blushing cheeks, Bai Xuelan knew that he was about to get really angry, so he stopped biting and murmured, "Sorry. I was so angry that I couldn't help biting." Back to the carnivore driven by instinct. "Adjutant Xuan, you have a lot of people. Don't care about a vulgar carnivore like me." He kissed Xuan Huaifeng vigorously on the cheek and let him go. Xuan Huaifeng was bitten twice, and his hands, necks and hands felt faint. And he wanted to scold him, because Bai Xuelan brought up old things again, compared himself to a carnivore, and used words like vulgar, but it was not easy to scold him. He could only give him a warning look, and when he turned his head through the window, he saw 2 servants coming from a distance with a 3-layered bamboo box, and said, "The meal is here." He sat down at the table. Bai Xuelan deliberately made trouble with him, and even if Xuan Huaifeng wanted to beat, scold or bite after the incident, he didn't care. Unexpectedly, Xuan Huaifeng suffered 2 bites, but he was very patient. My heart was instantly warm. He understood that Xuan Huaifeng had put his position right in his heart. The position he occupies is exactly the position that Xuan Huaifeng left for Lin Qijun back then. In the past, no matter what Lin Qijun did, Xuan Huaifeng always gave in everywhere. Bai Xuelan saw many things in his eyes, and he didn't know how much blood was dripping from his heart. Now, I finally saw the sky behind the dark clouds. Bai Xuelan was both moved and regretful. He felt a little heartache. He moved the chair over, sat next to Xuan Huaifeng, and asked, "Does the bite hurt?" Xuan Huaifeng was tickled by his rubbing, he couldn't help laughing. And opened his hands. "Don't move your hands and feet." Bai Xuelan saw his smile, and the tip of his nose was full of faint body fragrance. He was confused, smiled and whispered, "I don't move my feet, I move other parts, do you mind?" Xuan Huaifeng has been with him for a long time, and he has learned a lot. When he heard it, he understood what it meant. And his ears suddenly turned red. While playing sweetly, the servant knocked on the door and came in. "Commander, Adjutant Xuan, dinner is here." He lifted the lid of the big box, took it out layer by layer, and put 2 dishes of cold vegetables, 2 meat and 2 vegetarian dishes, 4 hot dishes, and 2 bowls of white rice. Another servant opened the basket, took it out and put it on the table, but it was a bottle of warm rice wine and 2 scalded wine glasses. When Bai Xuelan saw it, he asked, "Why did you bring the wine?" The servant said, "This is what Adjutant Xuan asked for." Bai Xuelan turned his head to look at Xuan Huaifeng. Xuan Huaifeng calmly said, "It's been a long time since I drank, so I'm a little greedy. I'm not used to drinking spirits, so get some yellow wine, which is more suitable for my stomach." Xuan Huaifeng picked up the wineglass, filled both wine glasses, and put a glass in front of Bai Xuelan. Bai Xuelan glanced at the cup and asked, "Are you trying to tempt me to relapse?" Xuan Huaifeng said, "It's boring to drink alone. You accompany me." Bai Xuelan said, I want to quit drinking." Xuan Huaifeng sighed, "You remember such a small thing from a long time ago." Bai Xuelan's eyes darkened. His voice suddenly became a little sandy, and he said, "I remember. Of course, I remember. The thread that was tied was pulled half from the soil, and the heart tied in the depths was also torn. It was he who was drunk. It was he who pushed Huaifeng to the ground. It was he who let the slag of the wine bottle pierce Huaifeng's hands with blood." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "You really don't drink?" Bai Xuelan shook his head. Xuan Huaifeng asked again, "Can you have a drink with me?" Bai Xuelan still shook his head firmly. Xuan Huaifeng said, "I know. You are a big drinker, and you've always been a big drinker." Bai Xuelan said, "You're a big drinker, you love to drink, and the decision to quit drinking because of repentance for what you've done are 2 different things." Xuan Huaifeng pondered for a while, and said, "Your determination may be a sign of loyalty to you, but to me, what does it feel like? For example, you know that I love the Vatican bell. If I ever did it for the sake of, if something is wrong to you, I will never touch the Vatican bell again as a punishment for myself. What do you think?" Bai Xuelan shook his head and said, "There is no comparison between these 2 things." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "Why is there no comparison?" Bai Xuelan said, "It's common to get drunk and hurt people. But I've never heard of it hurting people because of the Vatican bell. I love wine because of it. The mellow and strong aroma of the alcoholic beverages. I quit drinking because it makes people dizzy." "Will the Vatican bell make people dizzy?" Xuan Huaifeng said, "You took things away. I'm just making an analogy. I don't want you to do it for me. Give up your own preferences." Bai Xuelan usually has a smile on his face, but this time he was very serious and talked freely. "You are my biggest hobby, compared to wine, it's just a trivial hobby. I made a simple and normal choice, willingly, it's not as serious as you think." The ancients said that you can't have both, not to mention the mere drink. What a bear! Xuan Huaifeng heard half of it, and he had already worn out his patience. He raised his head and poured the glass of wine into his mouth, turned his head, put his lips together, and blocked Bai Xuelan's mouth. Bai Xuelan suddenly lost his voice. He couldn't help raising his hand and hugged Xuan Huaifeng's lower back. 4 lips together. The long-lost wine is mixed with Xuan Huaifeng's unique sweetness, and it is passed to the mouth, making people's brains foggy. Every bit between the lips and teeth is as rich and attractive as fairy dew. Bai Xuelan hadn't woken up yet. He had already swallowed half of his stomach greedily. A little heat rose in his throat, and it extended down to his abdomen. After a while, his whole body was burning with enthusiasm that could not be suppressed. He pinched Xuan Huaifeng's waist and held Xuan Huaifeng's head with one hand. As if afraid of him escaping, the wolf kissed him, tongue twists and turns. After a while, I felt that the chest of the person in my arms heaved too much, so I stopped for a while and said, "Good kiss, give me another sip." Xuan Huaifeng gasped and smiled. "Aren't you determined to quit drinking? What about the fish and bear's paw?" Bai Xuelan showed his rogue nature and said without hesitation, "You can't have both. It's because of the situation. Now the fish and bear's paw are mixed together, fried and brought to your mouth. This is a double happiness, but it is disrespectful." Xuan Huaifeng said, "Don't get me drunk instead." He had already drunk the cup, so he picked up the cup that Bai Xuelan had just given, poured it and put it in his mouth. Bai Xuelan immediately covered him again, lips to lips, grabbing the fine wine from his mouth. The two kissed again and again, flirting with their bodies. The yellow wine dripping from the corners of their lips dripped on their chins, on their clothes, on the table, and on the ground. The whole room was full of wine. Before I knew it, a full bottle of warm rice wine was emptied. Xuan Huaifeng shook the bottle and asked in surprise, "Have we drunk this much?" Bai Xuelan said, "Only 1 bottle is not enough. So I asked the kitchen to send 3 more bottles." Just as he was about to ring the bell, Xuan Huaifeng stopped him and said, "Drink a lot of wine, but don't take a bite of the meal. You will hurt your stomach. Stop drinking alcohol, and eat something serious." Bai Xuelan said, "I have exercised my stomach early. And I drink more than it's not a problem if it's 8 or 10 times more." Xuan Huaifeng knew that Bai Xuelan was interested, so it was useless to persuade him. He could only use his own body as an excuse to cover his waist and abdomen with empty hands, and frowned. "You have a good stomach, but mine is not good. I should also. Shall we eat something?" Bai Xuelan was taken aback and asked him, "Why, is it a stomachache?" Xuan Huaifeng said, "It doesn't hurt either. Just drinking on an empty stomach. The stomach is hot and stuffy." Bai Xuelan said, "Oops, eat 2 bites of rice to fill your stomach. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" He quickly picked up the rice, took 2 small bites into Xuan Huaifeng's mouth along the edge of the bowl, and asked him to chew it up and swallow it. "Is it better? It's better to call the doctor to come and take a look. For gastrointestinal problems, don't look for Western medicine, look for Chinese medicine." Seeing how caring he was, Xuan Huaifeng felt a lot of guilt. He shouldn't lie to him. He hurriedly grabbed him and said, "I'm much better. Don't do anything else. Let's eat something better than any doctor, both are strong." When Xuan Huaifeng felt unwell, Bai Xuelan, out of compassion and sympathy for his lover, automatically extinguished most of the burning desires, and he was honest and gave Xuan Huaifeng a spoon of soup and vegetables, picking out the best. The two had dinner together. The servant heard the bell ring and came over to clear the dishes. Bai Xuelan had just made a lot of trouble, and the wine dripped on the collar of his white shirt. He was about to take a shower and change clothes. Xuan Huaifeng seemed to suddenly remember something, and across the door, he said on the other side, there is a servant in the mansion named Fu San. Yes, do you know? Bai Xuelan was unbuttoning his shirt inside, and said lazily, I heard this name, what's wrong? Xuan Huaifeng said, you beat someone up, you said it very easily. You know he sent those invitations for me, right? Bai Xuelan's indifferent laughter came from inside. You've already checked it out, that's fine, I'll confess. It's not that I beat him. But it's almost the same, I ordered someone to beat him. Do you want to beat me back for him? Welcome in. Then, there was the sound of water. In Bai Xuelan's bathroom. There are tap water pipes and new hot water pipes, but Bai Xuelan prefers to use cold water when taking a bath, no matter summer or winter. Xuan Huaifeng waited until the tap inside was turned on. And the sound of the water stopped, and then he continued to say through the door, you can beat anyone you like, and I don't have the ability to beat you back for anyone. However, there is one thing. Look at me, have a little face. The sound of water rushing inside should be that Bai Xuelan was taking a shower, and then she heard Bai Xuelan ask, what's the matter? Xuan Huaifeng said, there was an accident in his family, he couldn't hold it for a while, and he became a human being, shameful behavior. I heard people say that if they don't have clean hands and feet in the White Mansion, they will be punished a lot, and you have to chop off their hands. Chief Pai raises your hand and spares him. Okay? Bai Xuelan squeezed wet, wiping his body with a towel. He said to the outside, you've already asked me, I can't say no. However, let's make a gentleman's agreement first. This time, I'll give him a sloppy look and forgive him. What kind of surname is Zan, Lin, and they are planted in my hands, will you plead for them? Xuan Huaifeng was startled. Okay. How did you get involved with Qijun? Bai Xuelan said, it's just a fight. For example, why do you only think of Lin Qijun? Is there only one surname Lin in the world? Xuan Huaifeng said, I won't bother with you about this. In short, you have promised me that you will not embarrass the servant anymore. I'm satisfied. Bai Xuelan said, you don't have any other flaws. You just have a good heart. Xuan Huaifeng asked back, I have a good heart, in your opinion, is it a shortcoming? Bai Xuelan said, to others saying, of course, is an advantage. If it is for myself, it may not be. In this world, big fish eat small fish, and jackals eat rabbits. The better you are, the more people will eat you. There is a story that a farmer saves a snake that was about to freeze to death, but the snake woke up and killed the farmer instead. The water is very good, can you get in? A wash. I won't come in. Wash yourself up. I smelled alcohol just now. Xuan Huaifeng replied, and then continued what Bai Xuelan said just now, of course, I have heard the story of the farmer and the snake. But according to you, in this way, the farmer will only encounter snakes? If he encounters cats, dogs, and babies that are about to freeze to death, should he kill them with a hoe like a snake? Bai Xuelan asked, how do you know it's a kitten? Puppy and baby? Xuan Huaifeng asked without hesitation. Then how do you know it's a snake? Only the sound of water came from inside. Xuan Huaifeng endured for a moment, put his head on the door panel, and said to the inside, I know how you see me in your heart, but you are a little wrong. I am not a person who does not distinguish between right and wrong. You have to trust me. Just watch from a long distance. The sound of water stopped inside, and Bai Xuelan asked inside, what does this mean? Xuan Huaifeng said, I remember my father's events in those years. When the tree fell down, Hun San, the end is bleak, and it will affect the children and grandchildren. You and he are very similar in that they are strong, domineering, and windy. Bai Xuelan said, yes, so what? Xuan Huaifeng said, too hard is easy to break, too strong to be humiliated. You are too shrewd, I will do yours. He paused for a while, and was embarrassed to say the intimate words in a grand manner, so he changed his words, said slowly, "I'll be your adjutant, so you might as well be honest and pair one strong and one weak." According to our Chinese old saying, the combination of hardness and softness is in line with the way of heaven. It's like a full glass of glass. For the water in the tank, a small hole is opened on the top, so that the water can flow out a little, so as not to overflow and spill on the ground. Therefore, in the customs office, in the mansion, I encountered some small mistakes from them, and I had to forgive them. Just forgive me. In this world, survival is inherently difficult, so being more sympathetic to others is not a bad thing. In fact, since I am your person, those who have found a place to live will naturally know that there is a favor from you. Before he could finish speaking, the door suddenly opened without saying hello. When Xuan Huaifeng saw it, he was startled. "You came out like this?" Bai Xuelan was naked, his two long legs supported his straight body, and he could see the fierce things under his crotch. There were drops of water on his body and hair, and when he came out, he stretched out his hand to hug him. Xuan Huaifeng couldn't avoid it, and he hugged him all at once, rubbed and stroked, and his clothes and skin were suddenly wet. While kissing him frequently, Bai Xuelan said, "It turns out that you care so much for me. It is worth dying for you." Xuan Huaifeng frowned and said, "You always talk about life and death, why can't you change your problem?" Bai Xuelan laughed and said, "There are also good words in life and death. For example, wanting to live and die is a very good word. I have been ordered to wash away the smell of alcohol, so I promise to repay your affection." He picked up Xuan Huaifeng by the waist, put it on the bed, untied Xuan Huaifeng's belt, and pressed it generously. Xuan Huaifeng let out a low, "Yeah." With Bai Xuelan's violent movements, the western spring bed vibrated and shook. Bai Xuelan is absolutely unequivocal about this promise, on the waist, on the hands, on the mouth. Every bit of strength is used, so that Xuan Huaifeng can experience the real desire to live and die, and make Xuan Huaifeng extreme of contentment and happiness. Xuan Huaifeng is happy, and this hard-working and dedicated Chief Bai is naturally also very happy. Bai Xuelan galloped wildly on the bed, and until late at night, he was still unfulfilled. But Xuan Huaifeng was already weak, and he said it was enough. Only then did Bai Xuelan stop his enthusiastic repayment.